stream test of the garden. And I've got 2 Dane axes. One's there, one's here. I may even demonstrate them, but just do like I said, a live stream test and see who's about. And whilst I'm here, I can adjust my helmet and my hat. Oh yes. How's everybody today? Are you having a great day? It's a Thursday here in Derby, Northworthy, or Derby in the old Viking tongue. Because that's one of the downsides about taking your Viking helmet off, is the fact that you've always got to adjust your hair. I wonder how many Vikings got killed in mid-battle adjusting the hair to get the helmet back on, because it's going to be in front of your face and then you can't really see what's going on, and that's the last thing you want. Now I noticed about this helmet I've got, this was another one of eBay. Talk about helmets, so I did a nice video on the helmets the other day. There's a split there, look, can you see that? You can just see that line. And actually I can see through the helmet. It's never a good idea, and you can just probably maybe see that little line of light. So at some point this helmet needs to be welded. I think I may give it my neighbour Mick to put a weld on there for me, and then I'll grind it back down again. But, now would that pass inspection? Now the other thing about his helmet is, well, it's got no chin strap, which is always a downside in my mind about helmets. You definitely want a chin strap, although it does fit nice on your head even without a hat. So that's the thing about long hair again, and Vikings you've got to adjust it, but I do prefer a hat when you're wearing a helmet. Another thing about it is quite nice as well, is how they've made it. Because you would think this band here is a separate piece, but it doesn't seem to be from inside. So yeah, I was trying to decide, but I think it is a separate piece, and what they've done, they've hot riveted, I think, this on, because the dints on the inside are hollow, whereas a rivet, if that's a rivet, that wouldn't be like that. So I had a comment there, just trying to go back to a minute. So I got to, here we go. We've got to remember how to live stream again. Live chat, there we go. So, good day, got it. Good day, Bragi. Hello from the United States. Oh, hello from Derby. Yes, greetings. Hope you're having a great day so far. I've got my Dane axe here, so don't worry. I'm safe in the garden, just in case. Like I said, this is just a live stream test. I've been thinking about doing a few live streams now. I've got more time on my hands. Yeah, it's also quite a very high peak on this. Normally they're a little bit lower by about an inch, so it looks quite tall. But let's put it back on my head. So where is the second Dane axe? Well, it's in the tree. I'm not lying. 2 Dane axes, because you never know when you want 2. How do there, youth? Hope you're well, my brother, says Iric. Yeah, I'm not too bad, my friend, my brother. I'm okay. Yeah, my plans didn't go quite right today because of the buses in Derby are terrible, and I literally missed one within a minute, and then I waited half an hour for another one, and then another one didn't turn up, and it was getting too late in the day. So the question here, are those blunt or sharp? Let me put my helmet on my hat first, and I'll tell you. Oh, bear with me. There you go. No, so these ones are both blunt. I think I only got one sharp Dane axe, was the one I bought for Egil, with the kind of nice, you know, it's not inlaid. It's got a pattern on here, but it's not inlaid. It's just been carved out. But these are both blunt, and this is my favourite one, I would say. Although I noticed it's getting slightly loose, so it probably needs to go on my anvil, and then I'll get a big sledgehammer and I'll give it a good tap here, and it will knock it back tight again. Whereas this one, the singing Dane axe, did you hear that? I don't like the handle on this. It's just too straight. I like more of a curve to a handle. And because this is an old spear shaft, which I made some videos about this today, I also don't like it. You could improve it by putting some leather here, and I think probably a leather grip there, but I think it just wants a better shaft in my mind. Get a nice bit of ash. I'll go out in the wood and find some, don't you worry. So let's look at your comments. So we've got a question, a comment on a question. Hello, nice axes. How many helmets do you have and what types? Well, I've got, I don't know, probably about 15 or 16 helmets. Most of them are Viking Anglo-Saxon. I've got a very nice Coppergate helm. I've got a Celtic cavalry helmet I bought off eBay cheap. It was like 15 quid. And I've got another Roman helmet as well. More auxiliary, I think, but most of them would be this type of varying designs. And as for axes, I've lost count. I know I've got about 5 or 6 Dane axes, and I've got at least 2 Dane axes which I need to make shafts for. And as for other axes, I've got many. In fact, I've lost one in the garden somewhere. I put it down. Do you hate it when you put a tool down and you can't find it? And I know it's somewhere. It's either in the house, I put it hanging in a tree and it will turn up when I don't want it. So I've been collecting this stuff for about 25 years. So I'd like more. You can never own enough Viking and Dark Age equipment. So let's go to your comments again. So bear with me as I use my finger. And then we've got the Normans, of course, that came later on. I got a little bit of Norman kit, but I don't like dressing as a Norman. No, I think I'll just keep to dressing as a Viking and Anglo-Saxon, although Viking's my favourite. But then you have stuff like Carolingian and stuff like that, and Merovingian, which are impressions people don't do, and Frankish. So I've got a comment here from Eirik. Mrs. Eirik says hello and says you're looking whoa. Oh, they're singing Danax. Saw him performing live once. Ha. And Angles and Saxons, oh yes, we can't forget the Angles, and we can't also forget the Dukes and the Frisians as well. You know, they need a mention in this bigger picture because they all came over, you know. It's just that the Anglo-Saxons came over in bigger numbers. And what those numbers are, you know, that could be debated for the rest of time. Some say it was quite a large number, like 100,000, but I could see that, but some say it was smaller. And some people claim it was even larger than that, like 500,000. But I think that's too excessive. I think somewhere between 50 and 150,000 in that classical migration period, but we'll never know the answer to that. And do we really want to know the answer? You know, we just want to enjoy and respect and love our history, which is what we should all do. So we've got Sir Andre Lefray de Linarge here. Aha! Huh. Well, by chance, I've recorded a video. It's basically just me walking in and just saying "aha" for no apparent reason. It was an outtake because I couldn't decide what to say. Because some days you come on camera, you come on camera like this, and you go, "Ah, I'm going to say something," and you're coming on, and you're standing there thinking, and you're waiting for something to come in your mind. And you go, "Oh, the Viking Danax. Which of these two would you prefer?" And then a video comes out. But yes. Danaxes. Of course, I'm happy to talk about anything really. So I've said, but yeah, I don't really use a Danax a great deal in the sense of Viking re-enactment. If I'm going to take a shafted weapon, I'm going to take a 6-foot spear instead, because I think that's better. Yeah, definitely in my mind, a spear is more useful than a Danax. But you do see some people when they're in. There's a video on the channel where I filmed many years ago a Viking battle I was in, and there's a guy in that video. It's about 20 minutes long, and he's using the Danax superbly. And I think he actually commented on the video himself as well. So it's well worth you going to that video and just leaving that chap a comment. You can't miss him in the comment section because his use of the Danax was just brilliant. So we've got a comment here from QX FX said. He said, "Do you ever think of expanding on YouTube?" Well, yes, at some point we probably will do. I mean, if Egil ever returns, then he's more than welcome to talk about anything really in history. I know he's got a couple of 19th century impressions, and I've got a venue in mind where I could record him talking about the 19th, 18th century, maybe a little bit later. and he's also an expert on World War II. But you're definitely right. I think the more subjects you can cover, and the bigger the area, the bigger the box you can open up on YouTube when it comes to the different sorts of content, the bigger audience you're going to get. Because if we just stick to Vikings the rest of our lives, then we're just going to have a small Viking audience when we want to reach the whole world, you know. And one of the reasons why we told stories. Oh, and I've recorded another folk tale tonight, and the next folk tale I'm planning to publish, as I've recorded a few on my camera now, is coming out tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. And then I've got at least 4 or 5 videos on my phone just to upload to YouTube. It's a long format, and I'll publish them over the next few nights as well at 6 o'clock. So for a little change, you've got some long format content coming rather than me just bombarding you with short videos. So while I'm here, brother Bragi, would lovely viewers like to see some content comparing Vikings with another point in history, like Romans, or my favourite, pirates? Aha! Oh yes, I think that would be good. And yeah, I think just like comparing like a pirate axe to a Viking axe, you know, like one of these, you know, I've always got an axe handy. Or very strangely, I was thinking about this earlier because I got a trunk in my film studio bathroom. I pulled out, and it's just full of 19th century uniforms. And I was looking for a pair of gaiters because I wanted to compare leg bindings and talk about leg bindings, and I wanted to show what a 19th century equivalent is. But at the same time, I thought to myself, oh, I got some nice 19th century, you know, trousers. So I could compare Viking trousers to a pair of 19th century Civil War trousers. I think that would be interesting, and we've done 1 or 2 of those videos. I've not published and edited yet of comparing things, but yeah. So we've got a comment here. I thought from Domonian Warrior from Cornwall. He owns Cornwall. Well, you should do anyway. Although yeah, you'd have the chorus to put up with. But it's one of my favourite places to go travelling is Cornwall. Such a lovely place. And Devon. I have fought Dane axes. They are like sledgehammers. Broke my shield. Would Vikings and Saxons dress the same? Well, very similar dress, yes. I mean, certainly if you're comparing somebody in the 5th, 6th century to the 7th and 8th century, then there's a difference. Tunics get longer gradually over time, and so do weapons, and likewise, and kit changes, and there's less elaboration when it comes to the art going into the items, and like, you know, you think about Sutton Hoo and the Staffordshire Hoard, that became less common. So yes, yeah, but it would be difficult to understand the difference between a Viking and a Saxon on the battlefield if it weren't for the fact that we wear Thor's hammers and they generally wear crosses. But then I think also that's why we had designs on shields to a certain degree, to distinguish the different groups of people, you know. So I think that will make sense as well. And let's face it, if you've got a massive shield wall, you know, let's say 500 people, and these 500 people came from 20 places, you know, 20 different villages, and all got together, it's better off to fight with the men you know rather than fight with strangers. So by having the shields from these different villages being slightly different in design or colour, then at least they'll know who their friends are, and likewise the same with the enemies. But we could debate that all day, really. You know, that's one we could debate all day. Go back to the comments. I hope you're enjoying this so far. Don't forget to like the old video. Oh yes. So we've got a comment here from Thomas Dale, my very good friend from Derby. And he says, hello, hello. So hello, Thomas, hello. And a comment from Eirik. The beauty of the Dane axe came in all shapes and sizes, but the key was width of the blade, brutal in the right hands. And I think that's the key with the Dane axe, or any sort of Viking weapon. It is down to who is using it. I mean, you could have the best sword or the best axe, but if you're not well trained and you don't know how to use it, it's not going to last long, is it? And somebody else will grab it. You know, oh, that's mine. You know, bash him with your shield and he goes down. So Thomas says, I saw your earlier garden video and thought it was a nice place to film. Well, yes, it is a very nice place to film. I'll step away for a second. Oh, look, a shield. And you can have a little view of where I live. I just hope I get to stay here in the long run. But that's another story. It's the perils of my life where for many years I've been feeling like I'm going to be made homeless because of the situation, because I live with my dad. That's another story, but I want to stay here because I love it. And I like a garden. Now let's have a look at your comments. Don't forget to share this old live stream with your friends and family. And so we've got a comment here from to go back to your comments, you can bear with me. And Thomas Dale says hello Eirik, and Eirik says hello Thomas, my brother. And we've got a comment here from Daniel Howes. Hello Daniel, how are you Daniel? Hope you're doing all right, my friend. And says hello Bragi and everyone else. Oh yes, you're such a lovely audience and fan base, and that's one of the things that keeps me going on the channel. And you know, some days you think, oh, you know, I'm not getting nowhere, you know, getting low views, you know, you feel like giving up, but then, you know, you read a nice few comments and you know, you want to carry on again. And I'm not one to quit, I'm a battler. Go put that around my neck. It's alright, it's not sharp, so it won't hurt me. It's just some days when you're walking about, you just want to not have to have your Dane axe in your hand. And I was thinking about this earlier, let me just put one of them down. Is, you know, you're walking to battle, you got to go to Hastings or Stamford Bridge, and you got, you know, 2 days march, you know, you're marching all day on most of the night with little sleep. But you don't want to be having your weapons slung all the time. And so like in the 19th century, you'd have different positions of arms, you know. Some days you might be walking along with it on your right shoulder. And I'm not kind of saying to you that, you know, they had commands like this. I don't think they would have. I think it would have just been down to the individual, you know, to where he would have wanted to carry his arms, his spear or his axe. And then you may go to your left shoulder. I mean, we'll call that port arms. Yeah, not port arms, that'll be support arms. And right shoulder shift, of course. But my favourite would be port arms and march like this. Because if you like this, it's a little bit more difficult to get your axe ready. But if you like this, it's bang, you know, the Saxon's dead, you know what I mean? Where if you're watching along like this, it's you know, that Saxon's got a chance to stab you or shoot with a bow. So it does make you think. And I often think about the questions we don't often think about when we think about Vikings and Saxons, you know. Because like I was thinking the other day, because I've been using my wood stove to cook, because of the cost of living really, you know. I've got a big garden full of wood as well, that helps. But you know, if you're relying on your wood stove every day to cook your breakfast and your lunch and to boil your water and to make your tea, you're going to go for a hell of a lot of wood. You know, and coal, if they had access to coal. I mean, I think coal would have been more scarce. Of course, they had charcoal more readily available. But it does make you think, you know. And if I have a fire, it's probably 2 or 3 times a week. I'll heat water and maybe cook some lamb or a bit of steak if I can afford it, you know. Normally it's a bit of pork, you know, pork's cheap. Well, I do love a bit of pig. Which reminds me of a story I got to tell actually, called The Pig Farmer. You know, so it just jumped into my head. I must do that and record it for you, because I do love these folk tales and I tend to put the Viking twist onto them. So anything you want to ask while I'm here, and we'll go back and talk about, well, anything. I'm very diverse in my conversations. And so Eirik says, our viewers make it all worth it. Love to you all. Oh yes, love to you all indeed. It does, you know. And you know, we've got a great audience on TikTok as well, and we don't get trolls, which is great. You know, if we did, I have to publish a troll story. Traditionally, that's what I do, you know, or go and record some. But yes, another comment. So wild boar, never tried it. Yes, it's very nice. It's very rich in flavour. You know, yeah, I like pig as well, but boar, it's just got that better taste, I think. You know, boar crackling is a bit tough and hairy though, to be fair, boar crackling. So pig crackling is by far better. Another comment. We've got flies bothering about. It's getting that time of day when all the flies start settling down, and so we've got a comment here from a question actually from Thomas Dale. What is your favourite sort of humming noise? Oh, it's probably like a it's a bit like the one I hear at night with my tinnitus, when all I could hear is like a all night and does my head in. And you think to yourself, there's somebody's got a washing machine on or something, and I to enjoy silence. Perhaps I need my ears tested. So Irish says, my favourite humming noise is a it's a bit lower in volume, that one. And Thomas says, laugh out loud. And Daniel says, I often wonder how much is known of the Anglo-Saxon pre-migration and the ones that never left. Was there any contact later? Well, I imagine there would have been contact to a certain degree, because they both remembered their heritage. And of course, the stories of families get passed down the lineage by but one by line by your relatives. So I bet to a certain degree there would have been some contact, because we had vast trade routes. So and I guess Denmark would have been good for certain things as well, furs and meats, and maybe beer. Maybe there was famous 1200 years ago for making ale. But it does make you think, though, those Anglo-Saxons and Jutes and Angles and Fijians that did not leave, what did happen to them? And I've read a little bit on their histories. It's fascinating, but because we live in the UK and England, we'll just focus on English history. I mean, it's blooming great, why not? But we should not ignore history of other countries, like France, for instance. Thomas says, another commentator from Danonian Warrior. Do you like chainmail? Never really liked it. Get all on everything. Yes, I do like chainmail, but you first of all, you want to have a leather jerkin and make one specifically to wear, because then that's going to get oily and nothing else. And then because my set is like plated and it's not very oily, it doesn't really rust, so I don't have to treat it. So buy yourself a plated set of mail rather than just your standard set, which is just unplated. I know it's a little bit more expensive to have somebody plate all your links, 20,000 of them, but it doesn't need so much treatment. Yeah, if you've got an additional mild steel set of mail, then it will go black, and it does need oiling, and there's only so many ways you can deal with that. I mean, even putting a suit of mail in a vat of vinegar, it's going to come out and very quickly rust if you don't oil it up. And of course, they would have used animal fats. Today we would use car oil or olive oil, but I'll probably use some sort of engine oil. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have that problem really, because the two other suits I got 3 suits of mail. One of them is too small and needs splitting all the way up here and across the shoulders, and more adding to the shoulders, and the skirt of it reducing, and I don't really fancy doing that job because it's 8mm links, and that will take forever. Then the other set of mail is just rusty, and I don't want it getting my clothing mucky. So yeah, we don't often think about that with mail. But yes, I'll just while I'm thinking about Thomas Dale, I had 2 cheeseburgers, Thomas, for my tea earlier, because he loves his cheeseburgers. Yes. You'll have to pop up, and we'll get the barbecue on the way, Thomas, and we could sit in the garden and have burgers all afternoon. So I've got a comment here from O'Clock. Hi, I noted your video before was in Derby. Are you from there, and is there a good relaxed reenactment group in the area? If so, how strict are they on historical accuracy versus having fun? Well, there isn't really. I mean, the only group locally to us is what used to be called the Jorvik Vikingar, but they're now called Ulfslid, and they are quite laid back in the sense of being very laid back, but they're also very good reenactors in the sense of they do and put on a good show, and they've got a lot of expertise between them. As for the accuracy, I think they're probably quite keen on accuracy, but they're not going to like bombard you with authenticity straight away, you know, because that can put people off if you join a group and they're super authentic and some of your kit isn't super authentic, you know, and you'll have somebody come up to you and say, oh, you've got a piece there and it's got stitches that's been done by a machine, or they'll say you're using the wrong thread, or that colour's not right. So and then that can take the enjoyment out of it, and as well as politics. So, and there is a lacking of groups in Derby. At Derby University, they've had for many years a medieval group, but I think you got to go to university to take part in it, because they train and practice on Markeaton Park. Close by, we've got the Vikings of Middle England. They're from Leicester Way. I'm trying to think of any other Viking groups in the area I've heard of. There's a couple of, there's one more medieval group, but they do like 13th, 14th century, which is a little bit too late for my liking. I mean, if we're going to get a suit of mail, then I'm going to take part in those battles where you bash the crap out of each other, because I think that'll be quite fun. But I certainly have to train up for a good year or two and get much stronger to do that. And the thing about what I gather about wearing armour, it's got to fit right, and it's not cheap. Although surprisingly, you can get some very cheap sets of armour for about £200 or £300 on various websites like Wish from Pakistan or China. But then of course you're going to have to do a lot of work, like replace all the leather straps, replace all the buckles, and then you're going to have to, you know, work it and work all the armour to suit you. Now, I very recently watched a video from, you know, Savage, the guy from Mythbusters, do a video about some armour he brought. It was, I think it was, he's a small chap, so it was a set of ladies' armour, but it was a very good video, and I did watch it all the way through, which is, I don't always do. So, yes. But you can also see and understand why they progressed from chainmail, from plate to armour. It just makes more sense. So bear with me. So I'm just going to the comments. I'm not being silent. So Iric says, talking about chainmail, I use a thick wool war coat as it's light enough, but it's quite thick. So it will prevent, you know, penetration of the oil. So yeah, if you've got a thicker coat underneath or a thicker tunic, which you specifically made to wear with your chainmail, then that would also work. But then again, this is why I think it's worthwhile making a leather gambeson. Leather jerkin, or making a gambeson. Sorry, I'm getting my things mixed up then. And Daniel has asked the question, have you watched the film Eric the Viking? It is not very good. No, it's not very good indeed, actually. I got the book, I think, as well. It's just not very good either. No, it's not a very good. It's not Monty Python, is it? It's just not a classic film, and I don't think it stood its time. They could do with making a new one. You know, Jim Carrey would be quite good, or something like that. You know. And Thomas says, yes, I hopefully pop up soon. I could bring some Warhammer stuff up, or something perhaps. I have a Warhammer delivery coming soon, which I think I mentioned to you before. Yes, and we have a comment here from Amerili Saliki. Hi, Norseman, and lots of beers. Oh, cheers. Cheers indeed for the beers. Everybody says hello. So that's great. And he's left another comment. I believe Odin. I think Odin exists because I'm connecting with Odin. So, oh yeah, so Odin does exist, no doubt about it, you know. And I think everything exists, you know, whether it's Batman or whether it's, you know, Tarzan or the alien creature, whether it's Gandhi, not Gandhi, well, he existed, but whether it's, you know, Buddha or Allah or the Christian God, I think they all exist because we live in a multiverse and there's that many planets and universes and solar systems and planets. Then somewhere out there's a planet where the DC universe is real and Batman exists, and so does Superman and the Flash. You know, you know, it's fast. But yeah, and I think one of the things I often told the people that when they start getting into this sort of thing, you start seeing signs, you start seeing ravens and crows and runes everywhere as well, because the gods are speaking to you, and the gods speak to those that want to be spoken to and seek wisdom. So you're very welcome, our Viking brother. So let's not forget our sisters too. Although most people on YouTube, 91% of you are men, which is why I'm making some kind of content to suit that as well, with doing motivational content as well. I'll try anything once. And Old Clock says thank you. I'll look into those. Hello Thomas. And Amir Ali Saliki. So I try to pronounce your name because I need glasses. And it says, who have a common raven pet? Well, of course, Odin did, or Odin, Hugin and Moongin, Mind and Thought, and they travelled everywhere, you know, and landed on his shoulders and told him things, and were his eyes and ears. But that's a very old belief as well in shamanism, that you would kind of become one with a creature, and you would send that creature out and it would see and hear for you. So it's a very old belief as well. I mean, that definitely goes back way into the Iron Age. So I've got a comment here from Aaron Kelly, and it says, hello. Yes. This will get me with a day nuts. Hang on, I'm not going. Now the thing about these 2 day axes, I prefer this one because I can handle this one. Let me just see if I can do a figure of 8 with this. So hang on. So when you're doing a figure of 8, you've got to come down and start off, and you're trying to, but it's not the most easiest thing to do, and then you've got to swap positions of your arms. Is what I like to do, rather than you can do it with just your arms set in the same place, but it's more difficult. So by changing your arm position, as you see, I'll shift my arms then. That also gives it. Also, what happens then is your axe handle slides up your hand. So as you come back down, you're getting a bit more leverage. But this handle's just too slippy for my liking. And I'm not very well practiced with the Dane axe because I've always been a swordman or a spearman. But let's get the other one, and we'll test that one in a second. So this one's got more of a curve on the handle. Now I think I paid £20 for this, if I'm correct. Again, another weapon I got by Tony Watkins. I'm not even certain if Tony Watkins even makes stuff now. His brother, got a brother called John Watkins. Nearly forgot his name then. For some reason I shouldn't do. He's a Viking trader, and he goes under Time Players, I think, or Time Warrior. So you may still find some of Tony's axes for sale on his stall, but he did make good axes. And what I like about this handle is that it's got a much better grip. So let me just move back a bit. So as I do my figure of 8, you can imagine a line of men doing this. Like I said, I prefer to move my hands rather than keep my hands fixed. It does work you out. And you've got to be careful not to smash the old camera. If it suddenly disappears, you know I broke the camera. But of course that's not the only way you can use a Dane axe. I mean, I would prefer, if I'm going to use a Dane axe, to use it like a spear myself, because A, it's safer. If you're trying to do a figure of 8, that's just never going to work in a Viking reenactment, because you're going to hurt somebody. And you're also leaving yourself open to a spearman. You know, 9 foot, that's a good distance away. And so if you're using a Dane axe as a spear, so you're trying to hook the shield, or the man next door to you who's got a long spear, or you're trying to just go along and get your kills in, it is very effective. But it's one of those weapons where we don't like to use it really, which is why I've never really used one, because they're just too dangerous in my mind. But everybody's different. So I've got some more comments, I'll go back to some of these. So I hope you enjoyed that for a second. So I will make a longer video about that and have a bit of a practice, because it's one of those things with the day night, you've got to practice a lot to get it perfectly right. And, I mean, I have practiced before. I mean, I do go in my garden and I do use the spear and have a go and get my bow out most weeks just to keep up with the training of it. So Daniel says, yes, a raven or crow circled me and I was looking at me. It made noises towards me. Its eyes were blue. I was eating a pork pie at the time though. Well, yeah, I was probably hungry, but also a good sign. It means you're being looked after. And Thomas says there's a couple of ravens that hang around the Derby Cathedral, which makes me smile. And Chad Cooper, I'm in Alabama. I'm working on a custom Dane axe for someone right now. Oh, that's cool. I've been to Alabama, yeah. Maryland, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, yeah. It'd been 22 years ago I went to America. And then before that I went in 1999 to take part in the battle, the 137th re-enactment Battle of Chattanooga. Although the Confederates called it something, oh, I forget now what the Confederates called it, because that's one of the most confusing things about the Civil War, is that the Union called battles one thing and the Confederates called them something else. But I love that though. That's just a cool bit of history. Well, if you ever, you know, if you go to my community page, certainly you'll find pictures of Dane axes, but I'm also more than happy to give you measurements. I'm an engineer by trade and a blacksmith, so I can measure this in inches or in centimetres, whatever you prefer, and give you some good dimensions. This one has a wooden peg in it, so it's split, more traditional. This one here, this trim, more of a rounded section, but this one rings. So, whereas this one doesn't really ring. It's just a better quality steel and better heat treatment. But you know, both of them are different designs. One's much broader, but that's got more of a curve. I don't know which I like more really. Probably this one because it rings, to be fair. But yeah, I'm more than happy to help and give, you know, measurements and so forth. And I hope that's a close enough view for you. I mean, I could put my hand against it, but that won't really work, will it? Now, it's quite easy for me to take a photograph and just put some measurements in the description. So from that, it's got to be like 20 centimetres by around about 17, I'm guessing. I mean, you should always guesstimate before you estimate. That's what I think it was Archimedes said that, or either that Elon Musk, somebody famous. So. And it says, being able to see Dane axes helps me to know I'm doing when I'm forging it tonight. So yeah, I hope you got to see those blades a bit more closely. I do have another axe on me, I can show you. It's a standard kind of a worker's axe. Again, another one by Tony Watkins. This was the first one I bought in '99 at the first battle practice I went to. I had no Viking clothes, I just turned up in modern clothes, and Tony showed up, but I think, how much did I pay for that? A tenner, £10, $15. But what I liked about it was the handle at the back of it and the staining colour of it. I just think he did a very good job. I think he used to angle grind his wooden handles down with angle grinder. He cheated a lot, he used modern methods, but he could manufacture them and knock them out. And I've also got another little knife here. I'm wearing Egil's Viking bolt at the moment, so I've got Egil's kit on me and his knife. So this is like an eating knife. It's very sharp now because I sharpened it for him. I'll step back, you can see the belt. Now I kind of made a discovery about wearing Egil's bolt. I kind of discovered and realised how comfy it is. And it's because it's much wider. It's like 2 inches wide. Most of my belts are like 15 centimetres to probably, you know, 25 centimetres. So they're not very wide. Whereas this one, it's an old boat from his great granddad who used it in World War One, believe it or not. So it's like over 100 years old now, like the boat I'm wearing. So it's a good chunky bit of leather, but it just feels so comfortable. Can't say that word some days. It's just say it feels so comfortable when I'm wearing it, and I don't know. I think it's because it's wider. So I think it's, oh yeah, one of the best boats I've worn, and I like to jump about in my kit like this when I first get in it. So it feels comfy, and I know nothing's loose. Because if you've got a loose axe or a loose knife, it will pop out when you jump up and down for a few minutes. Oh yeah, and it just makes your kit sit on you correctly. I'm probably only Viking that does it though. Alright. So any more comments, questions, or any more thoughts, let me know, and I'm more than happy to answer them. I mean, could you go to battle with 2 Dane axes? I think it would be very difficult. You'd have to fight with one like this, stood in the ground, and then you could use the other one. So defensive with this, and attack with this. But in theory you could, if you hold them much closer to the blade. But if you're trying to use 2 Dane axes at the very end, well, you just can't do it. I mean, it's too top heavy, and I'm not strong enough. You have to be 7 foot tall and be built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Take me to the Viking longship. So Daniel says, have you watched the Last Kingdom film? Yes, the one on Netflix. I've seen the trailer for it, and I kind of started the other day just to watch a little bit of it, but then I realised, because I'm halfway through the last series, that I think I need to go and watch the last series through. So, but I do want to watch it, and if I can figure out how to review the videos, I'm trying not to edit on my PC at the moment, because with the cost of living, I just can't afford to run a PC all the time, and I'm having, because I'm a low paid, well, I'm not even low paid, I'm beyond that. I would be classed as in hardship, which is crazy really. But so I'm trying to reduce my electrical cost, you know, my gas bill. Well, I just don't use gas. But I did cook my 2 burgers on the gas stove area. Felt bad. I mean, I could have made a fire and cooked them, but ain't it all expensive? I mean, we take it for granted that you can just go to your long house and, I'm knocking the camera with my Dane axe handle, that you can just go light a fire and cook your food. Now, if you don't know about the Dane axe handle, if you want to determine which is the correct height, so you can see both of these two, this is slightly shorter than this one. So the way you test a Dane axe to make sure it's the correct height for yourself or the person is you put it under the armpit, right? Now, for me, if I go down, I've got at least 2-3 inches of room there, so that Dane axe is too short for me. That Dane axe is great for Egil, perfect for Egil. But this Dane axe, I do the same thing again, and I put it under my armpit. It's standing straight. I'll move that and this, so you see. So, there you go. So it's under my armpit. My armpit's not too raised. It's not uncomfortable. So that, to me, is the perfect height of a Dane axe. It's to the point of where this bit here reaches your armpit, if you're trying to determine your length. And then I don't know whether it's good to have a bit sticking out. I think you want a bit, maybe that's a bit generous, this little bit here. But that's just where I got it, so I left it. But yeah, if you're trying to determine the length of your Dane axe, then that's the best method. And like I said, put a curve in the back of the handle as well. You know, because it's much better to have a curve and a straight handle. It just feels better. So Chad says, I'm very happy to have caught your live stream. I'll make sure to tune in next time. Well, if you do go on the main channel, you will find 1 or 2 videos on the Dane axe we covered in long format. Egil certainly talked about it. Trying to think of the titles of the videos, but there's certainly 1 or 2, and we certainly covered it in other live streams. Well, all I'm giving you is just basically the same information I've got from Egil. So I'm glad you caught our live stream, and don't forget to give us a sub as well. Is there a name for the smaller axe? Like a Dane axe, but a smaller blade? Says Chad. And slightly shorter, like one with a 3.5 metre handle. Well, this here would be just a generic sort of a bearded axe. This is very common, typical shape. But then again, hang on. There's another one. And you got this one, which is more of a felling axe, which is probably a later design, but you'll find that design in the Roman period, so the design's not really changed a lot. That's another nice axe, axe handle, of course. Got a curve on the back again. Needs cleaning. And then you also have your typical bearded axe, and again you'll see content on the channel where we covered the standard axes, and there's lots of short videos where we talk about it and compare, and some of those short videos are very short, but that's just me experimenting with the old format. So 1.5 metre axe, I'm sorry, not a sounding to the metric, so you're not used to the metric system. Yeah, because I did read 3.5 metres, which is very long, so you're probably thinking 3.5 foot, you know, which is about that really, 3.5 foot probably. And Aaron says, I should check out that series out one of these days. It's definitely worth watching, is The Last Kingdom. I enjoyed it. You know, they got some good casts and some good battle scenes. So Daniel says, were there any Vikings and Anglo-Saxons to be known as atheists? I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how long has the term atheist been around, really. Is it a new thing or an old thing? I expect it's probably an old thing to a certain degree. You're always going to have people that don't believe. So there probably would have been Vikings that didn't believe in the Viking gods, but then again, they probably would have kept it to themselves because of the fact that they would have been ridiculed and possibly picked on because of their beliefs. It's the same as in Anglo-Saxon culture later on when they all became Christians, and if somebody found out you were still practicing the old gods, then that would not go down in the local community, and especially with the priest of the church where you should go. So it does make you think. Yeah, it's not a subject I've read a lot on, you know. It's not something I've ever read too much in books. I've read about Vikings, and I do have a lot of books on Vikings, you know. Yeah. But something I'll ponder on that. So Daniel says, I want some cooking utensils and knives pre-1100. Any recommendations of what to look out for? Yeah, well, generally they'll be more basic in shape, you know, like an iron skillet would be quite nice to have. So it's just an iron plate with a handle, very basically wrought and worked. Maybe have a bit of a pattern on the handle flat. Then you could have, you know, forks and ladles. The best bet for that would be to go to the guy that sells an Etsy from Sheffield, Dare Gold, or something like that. And then I'd know Celtic Web Merchant, they've got a bit of a selection, but some items, some of these mainstream traders sell are not brilliant. But alternatively, just try to find a Viking blacksmith that could make you some, and wouldn't cost a great deal of money, I'd imagine, just for a few things. But yeah, I would say Etsy is a good place, but it has gone downhill from a seller's point of view, but there's lots of sellers that do sell good stuff. So I'll have a look if I can find a link to the guy from Sheffield who I bought one or two bits from. He makes things out of mild steel to a very authentic standard, so it's good quality and it looks nice at a reasonable price. That's where I got that T-shaped axe from, and a couple of other bits in the past. So that's where I'd go if you can't make them yourself. That's the problem with a lot of Viking sellers. They just sell the standard sort of things, your sword and your helmets, and they don't sell the utensils and your daily living items, which we all want and need. So Chad says, I'm trying to make some Viking and Nordic weapons. I believe they are my favourite blades to max. I want to work on a Seax or Sax, depending on how you pronounce it. Some cultures even pronounce it and people pronounce it sex. And so there's no correct saying when it comes to Sax or Seax. I think it also depends on where you come from to the pronunciation of it. So Daniel says, I'll have a look, thanks. Yeah, if I can find a link, I'll put one on the community page for you. But there's a problem, there's a lack of decent sellers. If we ever have funds in the future where I could fund things, have things made accurately at a good price abroad, then I may look into doing that and have a shop online. Because there is a big market for really good made Viking and Anglo-Saxon things. I don't really want to be making stuff myself because I don't really like doing it for people. I don't got enough time, that's a problem. But I certainly think working and doing something like that would be good. Yes, I do have a Sax on me, so there you go. This one I got off Facebook. Somebody sold it to me. Now, I think I paid about £30 for that. Not a bad blade, quite tough actually. That's a good, nice tough blade, that, yeah. Which is just my dating axe. So, and it's got a very basic wing pattern on it. Yeah, but I don't like the sheath that came for it is rubbish. It's just that the loops are sewn upside down. First of all, if you can see, they should be that way instead of this way. So I don't know why they've been done like that, and it just wants a new scabbard, so it will get one at some point. So go back to your comments. We've got a comment here from Rob Napier. Evening. Hello Rob, how are you? Are you keeping safe, my friend? Down in old Leicester. And how's Egil? I keep texting Egil, but I don't get replies, and I did get 2 like blank replies, or 3 actually, because I couldn't really figure out what was going on. But I hope he's all right, and I've not really said anything. Yeah, it's not my business. You know, Egil's not been too well, that's all I'm saying. But we've had lots of positive messages and lots of love being sent his direction, so hopefully on the bigger picture of the universe, that positivity will get to him and he's going to be all right. But I feel sorry for the little chap. I do miss him. And Thomas Dale says, hi Rob. Hi. Rob used to be a Viking as well. So Rob says, still teaching, got my eyebrow split, otherwise I'm well. Well, I'm sorry to hear that about your eyebrow. I mean, I did mine when I fell down the stairs. This one, I got a scar now on this eyebrow and a slight bump. But I know how you feel, but it will heal. And luckily, it wasn't too bad, my scar. All I can remember is just falling down the stairs, knocking my head on the Roman shield, because at that time I was keeping the Roman shield there, and then just kind of waking up in a daze halfway down the stairs. Apart from that, I was fine. So Rob Napier says, evening, Thomas. Oh yes. I'm holding 2 day axes, just so that you know that for the live stream. Oh look, you've got axes. It makes you think how long you're going to be before they're going to say you're going to need a license for that, sir. You know, they tried it in the past to say that they're going to invent some kind of a system so they can log all your weapons and have some kind of inventory. What it basically means, they want you to register them, and then but a lot of people won't do that. And if you know anything about the law, when you register anything, you're basically handing over the title and ownership, like your car, your house, or your children, or your guns, or your dating axe. If you need a Viking weapons registry, I mean, there'll be an uproar. It'll be like trying to ban wood stoves, which was not to do in 2 years. Bob says, mine was training partner throwing an amazing left hook. Moral story, keep your hands up. Oh yeah. Yeah. But just make you think about, you know, boxing and fighting and the ways the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons would have fought by hand. You know, I don't mean using weapons, using your fists, you know. not like today when you can go and learn karate or kung fu or any other martial arts, and you totally have to respect those guys because they're very dedicated. And you know, oh yeah, but it does make you think. You know, have we been doing it the same sense? You know, back of the hand or the fist. You got your legs as well. Don't forget them. Yes, I'm looking forward to a cup of tea. Though I may go out in a little bit and do some shopping at Lidl. And treat myself for the bank holiday. Hey, what a life I live. Yeah, well, we'll change the angle slightly. Here you go. You can have more of a bush in the background. Ah, Rob says, you mean Glima? Oh, yes. So Daniel says, was the average chap 1,000 years ago stronger than men today? Well, I'd say yes. I think today we're very weak, really. We're not used to hard work. You're not having to go out in the field every day and plough your field and grow your crops. You know, we can just go down to Tesco and Aldi or whatever shop you go to. So we are probably weaker, but also not in body, but also in spirit and mind as well. You know, they say the best thing you could learn in life is to have the ability to learn how to say no. Well, I do believe that. When you say no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I do not consent. But we forget that. But it does make you think. And you know, if we go back 1,000 years ago and we put the men from there here, would they be putting up with the tyranny we see in the world? Well, probably not. But then again, we've always had wars, you know. This is a whole other subject. Oh yes, I gathered you meant stronger, Daniel. So Chad says, old timer bare knuckles box differently than the boxers do today. They actually box in a way to protect their hands. Oh yes, I think on my dad's first wife's marriage, she was related to a world heavyweight boxing champion in the 1890s. And my cousin's godfather is Larry Gaines, or was the famous boxer. I'm not sure if Larry Gaines is still alive. Most people never heard of Larry Gaines. But I prefer to do my fighting with my mind and words. But you know, some days you've got to stand up for yourself. But you've got to be so careful in today's society because, you know, you say the wrong word to the wrong guy, wrong hat, and he's like, you know, he could stab you. Whereas 20 years ago, that never happened. You got slapped or punched and that'll be it. Everybody got up and moved on. But now we've got bloodshed and carnage in the world we live in. It's not the nice fault, you know, it's not this. This is not to blame. It is education and parenting and disrespect for your heritage and the tool, the knife. Yes. So if memory serves me, Iglima, which is a form of English martial arts, if I recall, was based on wrestling due to its close quarters and in some ways resembles Aikido. Yes. If only we knew more about it, really. I mean, I can't really think of many channels that cover it as well. Although I did watch a very good channel the other day talking about the staff sling, and I think to myself, well, I must make a sling again, but I'm going to make a staff sling as well. And perhaps we'll go out in the field and demonstrate how effective the staff sling is without, you know, hurting myself. So Saga, the axe that sang as she slew, your axe rings out woe. I clang it, then swing it all day, easily amused. Oh yeah, it does. You know, when you, yeah, and it just rings forever. You know, it's such a beautiful thing. It's like when you get a sword that rings. I've got a few ringing swords. You just know it's good quality stuff. That's good. That's good steel. That is. But it's not just the steel; it's the heat treatment. Whoever made it was a master. I think it's actually a Paul Binns, if I'm correct in saying. This is a Paul Binns axe. So, and it's a difference between that and that. There's a massive difference. Yes, I definitely have to look up Snagger. I did enjoy doing those couple of videos on Odin's spear and Odin's sword Gram. Oh yes. So, though I did use an auto prompt, which I'm not really used to using, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to use an auto prompt if I'm filming with the same camera. So, something to look into. I've got quite a few things and scripts ready to do and read off, but I just want to kind of perfect it so it doesn't look like I'm reading off a phone, because I'm not the BBC and have a massive teleprompter in front of me. So Chad says, is there a reason on Dane axes that some are flat edge and others have a ridge along the edge? What is the significance of that? My customers wanted a ridge edge so that they do a lot of forged molding. Well, it would be from the forged molding. So on this one here, hang on, you'll see a ridge on it. You can just see it's raised. You can probably see it better from this angle. So what it would have been when you're forging the sharp edge, and you basically you're flattening this edge here first of all, so you got an edge to work with, so you can chisel down it to form a nice sharp groove. So in that process of stuffing that extra metal in, the sharpest, better quality steel, you'll be raising up and beveling this section, and that is why some days you get this raised section here. Yet again, it's just another sign of quality. And this would have just been simply done with an angle grinder, where it's just ground in to cut. First of all, he would have formed a groove, and then he would have just ground it back slightly, and I can feel it on the blade itself. Now this one doesn't have that, it's just a straight blade. But I hope that answers that question really. That's what I think it would be. I mean, you wouldn't want to go out of the way to put excess material on this side of the blade. It don't serve any purpose, adding more excess material. So it would have been beveled and pushed out and mushroomed out and rolled up through the process of adding that better quality sharp edge. Because it makes sense. You don't want to use all of this. It does not want to be good quality steel. Only this section here, the blade, wants to be much better quality, higher quality steel. More carbon. And the thing is, they knew about that, they realised that, and that's wonderful. So I hope that does answer that question for you to the best of my ability. So Daniel says, what is the biggest Dane axe ever found or known to have existed? I don't know. I couldn't really answer that one. I think Dane axes are mostly the same size. You wouldn't really want to have an oversized Dane axe unless it's for, you know, to put on show. Like sometimes they made those 3-meter wide shields with elaborate art and embossing and wonderful, you know, embossed animals on. So unless it was for show, it wouldn't be practical. And the other Dane axe I've got that Egil uses is too heavy. It's not a re-enacted Dane axe, it's a mass-produced Dane axe for hanging on your wall, where this is to be used to hit people with. And then, you know, it's like the question about, you know, what is the length of the longest, you know, langseax, or at what point does the sax become a langseax? Well, typically a sax is between 8 centimetres and around about 31 centimetres is the typical length. But then some days I think to myself, well, that's wrong really. I think it would be more like 8 centimetres to around about 36 centimetres. And then typically the length of a langseax blade would be around about 54 centimetres to, I think it's 84 centimetres. But then you got a gap in between. So you got your sax and you got your langseax, but what about your middle sax between 36 centimetres and 54? So are we actually missing something in the language? I'm missing a middle size knife, which is longer than a sax but shorter than a langseax. Not kind on today. Makes you think. And like I said, those are the questions I love as well, because those are questions we don't often think about. And I'm sure somewhere some professor of archaeology knows the correct answer to that question. So I just listen to somebody shout in the distance. Yes. Luckily I live in a good area, Derby. So Rob says it's very close to Scottish and Cumbrian wrestling, which oddly resembles Hindu wrestling, which the Vikings would encounter on their use on the Salt Road, yes, and probably used primarily by the Varangians. That makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the Vikings went along the Salt Road. Trust me, if there was a road and the Vikings knew about it, they would have travelled along it to find out what's at the end, because they was inquisitive. And that's what we love about the Vikings. They chose to travel and explore. So Chad says, it does answer. Thank you. Well, thank you, Chad. I hope that you found that useful and I can explain that about the process of the Dane axe. Yes. Now some Dane axes will, at the end, will be forged from a kind of a billet and forged out, and then at the end point they'll punch a hole. Yes, if you see what I mean. So you get a rectangular billet, you form the end, you punch a hole through, and then gradually you form the blade. Whereas some other Dane axes would be different. They will be formed in one sheet, and then this section here would be all straight, and it's been bent round and bent and worked, and then in the modern world this is being moulded here. You can I know it's been moulded, I can see it. And you can just see a rolled section. So this would have been laser cut out on a laser machine and in one piece, and then the man Tony would have worked it, heated it on a little fire and knocked it round some bit of a stake to form the back end. So these two have been made in completely different styles as well. So a bit more information about that. Yes, I can give you that information. So we've got a comment here from Lewis Outred. Hey, I just got now into the live. Could you tell what the size of the shaft of the Dane axe is? Yes, well, that shaft there, the size of the diameter would be about an inch, I'd say. So 25 millimeters. If I get out my vernier, which is an engineering measuring tool, or I could even get a micrometer out, I could measure it dead accurate for you. But in my mind, I would say that's got to be about an inch. Certainly no more than 30 millimeters. So that'll be probably an inch and 1/4, or inch and 1/5. Whereas this one is different. So let me just do something with this. Hang on, this is why you got a neck. So this one is made from a piece of, I would say, hawthorn or maybe ash, but to me I say it's hawthorn. It's got that look because you've got the bark down one side. So if we reverse it, you'll see at the back it is much wider and not so wide on this section, and the size of that, I would say, is probably around about an inch thick in this section, and round about 35 to 40 mil in this section all the way along the wood, because I'm more than happy to measure them accurately for you and leave it in a community post. But I hope that answers, and I prefer, as I often said earlier, I prefer a curve on the back of the handle rather than a straight one. If you compare these two, you'll see there's a difference. And if you didn't see earlier, I demonstrated how you can, how you can tell whether a Dane axe is right for you in the sense of size. So if you put a Dane axe under your arm, and if you could move your arm up and down, that's too short for me. Whereas this one, it's just perfect. It's not really raising my armpit too much, just slightly probably, but that's okay. But yes, that is the best way of gathering the length of the Dane axe. Just bear with me as I use an old Viking trick to use my foot to pick up my weapon. Oh yes. Yes, if you're very well trained, I used to do that a lot. I used to have a single spear and I could drop it in battle and land it on my foot. And I know where it was, so if I'm attacking somebody with a sword, I could kill them, put my sword away and flick up my spear and grab it in my hand and use it again. But I was very well practiced at that. So Rob says, would you consider the Dane axe more of a terror weapon, which looks great, capable of dealing horrific damage, but useless when closed down? To a certain degree, although you can use it in close combat, but you just can't use it in the same sense. You've got to either use it at the back end like a traditional axe and shorten your length, or you can have it standing upright and you try to attack. but yet again you're very limited. So I think it was generally designed to cause terror, and it certainly would do. You saw, you know, a flank of men with Dane axes, they could go for a lot of men quite quickly. But then again, you're also in the open. You know, you're going to get shot by arrows and spears and axes. So, yes. But it is menacing. Pick it up the other day, an axe. You shouldn't really leave weapons on the ground, really, if you can help it. Be respectful to your day and axe. Don't leave it on the ground. So I'm knocking the camera with my shaft. Or is it a handle? Would you call that a handle, or would you call it a shaft? I think you could probably get away with both terms. In my mind, it's an axe shaft, so it's a shaft rather than a handle. But at what point does a handle become a shaft? That's a shaft, and that's a handle, in my mind. It's a bit like sheath and scabbard. I watched a few short videos the other day of watching these people making a Viking scabbard, which is not really, it's a sheath, but they just call it scabbard and they can't get the term right, you know. From my point of view, it's a bit frustrating when a sheath is a sheath and a scabbard's a scabbard. And they're trying to make sheaths look like scabbards. So Thomas says, weren't Dane axes used to good practical effect during the Battle of Hastings? I think they were brutal against the cavalry. Well, certainly were, yes. Something about the contingent feeling a retreat up a hill. The cavalry followed, and then the Dane axe wielders countered the charge back down the hill. Yes. And Rob says, so there's history of it even having a bit of a spike that can be swapped to a short spear. Oh right, I didn't know that. So, have you ever used a Dane axe to hook shield when you train? It's very effective. Yes, I have done a few times when I've used a Dane axe, and it is effective for hooking the shield. And with that extra distance of when you're hooking with two hands, it's just great to use in, you know, contingency with the spearman beside you, and you know you end up on the winning side every time doing that. So, yeah. And if I've missed any of your comments, I apologise. And I'll try to do some more of these live streams. What do you reckon? I mean, I could talk about the axe for an hour alone, or the sword. And we do need to do more live streams, really. So. Oh yes, I've got no idea what time it is either. It'll be about 9 o'clock, I'd say. 9:10 is my guess. But we've got a great amount of people watching as well, so I think I've seen 16 people at one point. That's great, you know. I can't wait to get to those days when we get 1,000 people watching some of our live streams. I don't even hope, but we will get there one day, you know. Just keep battling on. So Rob says, mind if I ask an awkward question on the axe head? Oh yes, please help yourself. Yup, more lives needed. Oh yes. We'll just wait for Rob's awkward question on the axe head. Oh, what could it be? Oh, I'm pondering now. 3 bowls, what is roll? But that ballad, I'll put it over my head again. I lost an axe in the garden, I can't find it, I'm gutted. I've got a big wood pile over there, it might be under that still. It could be in the house and I put it down somewhere. But it's been keeping me awake. They hate it when you can't find something. So what's the well hardest of the blade as opposed to the head of the blade? Well, the well hardness test is a number of tests. It's a test you can use to test how hard metal is, if I'm correct. Yeah, I think we had one of them in the inspecting room. And it put pressure down in a stamp, But of course the toughness is going to be different between the head and the hardness of the blade itself. So I'd imagine the head would be softer and the blade would be tougher with a better quality steel. Or it could be reversed, it could be the opposite. It could be the blade is softer and the head is tougher. But in my mind I think it would be the latter. That's what I think. I'd have to look up what well again to refresh my mind. Yeah. I'm pondering now. I love a good ponder. Don't you? I could ponder about things all night. I could ponder all day. Now I'm going to end this live stream at some point soon because it's getting dark out here gradually, and at some point I've got to go to bed. Now, as my dad always says, an hour before 12 is an hour in return. So why try to get to bed before midnight? It's a good policy. And just over here I've got my outdoor pool. I'll just fit you around and you start seeing some of it. Wait a minute. No? There we go. You see the edge of the pool. I've got an outdoor swimming pool. There's what we'll scratch test. Yeah, so I'll have to yeah, I used to do a test to test out the grade of the metal, how fine it was in the grinding. What was that test? You used to run a thing over an inch and it will give you back on this reading. Remember that one? I was too busy making things to be bothered about testing. But I bet there's bound to be a video online about it. So pondering is good. Even better if there's a pond behind you. Oh, there is. Brilliant. Oh yeah. There's a pond over there. One day I might fall into it for a laugh just for video. I'll have to wash my Viking kit afterwards. I've got to go in Derby tomorrow or the day after. Maybe Saturday. We'll see. Any more comments? Any more things you want to ask before I shut down this live stream and I go inside to get a cup of tea? A fairly traditional thing for us English people to do. So Rob says, still, Egil probably told you. I know, blades. Well, no, I've heard very little from Egil recently. I mean, I did go and see him before he got ill. End of March. I had a very nice bottle of wine with him. And I've not really been in Derby since. I mean, I sent him a few text messages, but I don't get replies back apart from a couple of blank replies. I'm trying to think whether what's happened there, but as long as he's all right, that's the main thing. Darn, now I'm imagining Egil fishing in the pond whilst dressed as a gnome. Yeah, we certainly laughed about that pond on camera. Stop thinking of Egil fishing. It's bound to be Dan's fault if he falls in, you know, Thomas. Yes. Good old Dan, blameless Dan. If something goes wrong, you can blame blameless Dan, because it's always Dan's fault. Oh yes, blameless Dan gets blamed for everything. Oh yes, who broke that plate? It was Dan's fault. Who scratched my car? It was Dan. Who drank my beer? Dan drank your beer. It's always Dan's fault. I don't know why, I'm just whirling around my re-enactment in my hand. It felt nice. Because that's one of the games you used to play on camping, and when you're drunk, you spin around the re-enactment about 30 times, and then you see who can get back to over there or do something daft. You used to do lots of daft drinking games. But it's not Daniel's. It was in the live earlier. No, not Daniel's fault, it's Dan. Somebody completely different. Dan, the blameless man. Yeah. An invention of Thomas. Or is it? I don't know. Yes, knocking over the camera with a throwing spear, Dan's fault. Yes, I nearly had a very close encounter with that video I put out of me throwing a spear over my camera. It literally came like an inch above the camera. You know. Oh yes, it was very close. Now we've got a comment here from Your Repair. Is Egil coming back? Well, I don't know really. I mean, yes. I couldn't really tell you that answer. I mean, I hope so in the long term. When he's better, when he's mobile, then he's always welcome back. I mean, even Tyrkir is welcome back if he behaves himself. Only I and I know about that one. Yes, he's welcome back, but he's not very well. And as Rob says, he's in hospital. I thought he was still. So it's going to be a good while before you see Egil. But I do have lots of videos of Egil I've never edited or published. So it's not as if you won't be seeing him on the channel. And we'll keep his memory and his legacy going, because people love Egil. I do know why, because he's a lovely man and he's got that charm and character about him. But yeah, I not really told people about him losing his toes, Rob. It wasn't really, I didn't really feel like doing it, and I kind of felt AJ Carter kind of said enough, but to a certain degree it's fine. But yeah, he's still in hospital then. I'll have to try to go and see him. I did walk past his house about 10 days back in the evening and look into his flat, thinking, you know, if he's back home. But there's no lights on, the windows were closed, so I kind of knew he wasn't there. So I didn't know whether he's been sent to respite after losing his toes. But if you do see him, will you send him my regards? I mean, if he wants looking after, I could look after him back home, you know, if he comes out. But you have to get a new hospital bed. And we've got a chairlift, so, you know, if he's going to struggle when he comes back out, he can live with me for a while. I mean, but because I'm not caring for my dad no more, and my dad's gone into a home temporary. He's not been too well either. So yeah, but we'll see. But he won't disappear from the channel, because literally I've got so many videos of Egil to publish, and I've got a lot of the old content I'm going through, making shorts. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I imagine it's not easy losing your toes. You've got to get used to walking again and go through therapy for walking and all that. So yeah, I won't expect him back this year. But when he does come back, I will let you know. And well, and just you know, just send good luck and praise his way. That's all we can do, really. You know. Yeah. But so many people are getting ill as well. I mean, and dying. That's scary. But hey ho. You just got to keep battling on. That's what I say in life. There's always another battle. And now that I know I'm more mobile, it would be good to take him places in the future. You know. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah. Have I missed any old comments? Rob says, I'll pass that along. Thank you, that's most honourable of you. Well, you know, I'd do anything for Egil. So if he wants looking after for a while, I mean, I don't really leave the house much. So, I mean, we could put a bed downstairs for a little bit. I mean, my dad's not here, so I'm not caring for my dad. I've got to look for a part-time job soon. Wish me luck. Anybody got a part-time job they want to offer a Viking? I'm very good at doing Viking bodyguard work, you know. So Saxon will get near you. Right, it's a crazy world we live in, though. I'm doing things I never ever thought I'd do, like use the hub, you know, the wood stove to cook. I'll put the kettle on later and use some electricity to make tea. I'm going to make 2 cups of tea because I'm thirsty. Do some shopping maybe tomorrow or the day after. And Thomas says, yes, we all hope Egil's well. He's a lovely guy, he sure is. And Daniel says, you need to start caring for yourself as well. Well, I do. I've lost a bit of weight. I don't know if you can notice on camera. I've probably lost a good time in my life with my dad being ill, and you get into that stage where your parents are about to die. So, and it's not nice, you know. But it's such is life, you know. You can only do so much. in life. But you got to think of yourself now and again. That's very true. You can't heal others without healing yourself first. As somebody who's a healer and like to help people, you've got to look after yourself. So always take time out. You know, have a rest when you need a rest. Eat well when you can eat well. I mean, I'm not a big eater. I'll literally go 2 or 3 days without eating. I will. I mean, I don't rely on food like a lot of people, and I'll have 1 meal a day. And generally, you know, all I've had today is 2 burgers, and that's done me. That'll do me for the day. Cups of teas now. That'll do me for the night. But the thing is, you know, I don't always like to eat. You know, and there's not a lot of food satisfaction some days, so that's why I don't eat. But I like fasting as well. So, but drinking's the most important thing. Taking your vitamins as well, you know. You know, remembering what peace there is in silence as well. Going out in nature, that's a great way to heal yourself. And getting out and chopping wood each day. I'm not chopping on today. I did quite a lot last night until about 8 o'clock. I was chopping up kindling. I just love doing that. I could spend all day. You know, if somebody could give me a job chopping up wood, I'd do it. Honestly, you know, as long as I can make content as well, we'll keep battling on. Yeah. But hey ho. Any more comments, questions before I do end this live stream? I've got to pick up my day actors. Another thing I started doing around the house is wear a head torch at night. I don't put on too many lights if I can help it. And I very rarely watch TV anymore. You know, it's a nice change because I've watched a lot of TV over the years, and TV is rubbish compared to it used to be. I mean, Netflix has gone massively downhill, hasn't it? You know, so I do quite a bit of reading, and I put music on. I like that. And I'm reading about Viking clothing at the moment and Anglo-Saxon clothing from 2 different books. So I'm always trying to learn more things. It's a bit like trousers. So apparently trousers have been around for quite a while, and they was definitely noted in the 1st and 2nd century. But Ovid, he was talking about the Roman writer was talking about the Germanics and how they used to wear trousers. They had some Germanic looking statues with trousers on during the Roman period. So we definitely know the Germanics and the Saxons had trousers. Which you could have to know because I like trousers. I've got another comment here. Should look into some cooking videos. Can make a surprising amount with some potatoes, rice, beans. You've got a lovely garden you could grow it in as well. I'd watch some gardening videos. Well, actually, yes, there is one video on the channel where I'm in my greenhouse in my Viking kit, and I'm repotting and trimming the roots of a hazel clump. I filmed a set of videos, I think it was last year, and I filmed like 7 or 8 gardening videos, and they're about 20 minutes long, and I never edited the other 7. So at some point I will get onto that, because it's something I thought about. I thought about calling it, you know, I could start a channel calling it the Viking Garden or something like that, but that's probably been done already. But yeah, I will edit those videos in the future when I've got more money coming in and I can afford electricity to edit those videos, because they're very big, because they're in 8K on my new camera. So I did film some. Perhaps we'll do one or 2 more in the garden. I could do it easily on this camera, that would be difficult. So, and I do like gardening. I'm into trees. I don't know, you'll see if I move over here. Hang on, we're moving. Hang on. So, I'm here still. You'll just see here, look. These are all my trees I grow trees. So, you'll just see a bit of the garage, and that very big one here I dug out the garden, and not this spring, last spring, that's a field maple. It's very tall. I may have to air lay that into 2 trees, but I do like to go out, and I do like trees and growing trees, and eventually I'm trying to sort my tripod out. I may bonsai all of them. So I do know a bit about gardening, and yeah. And then behind me you'll see my dad's old greenhouse. But yeah, but just change the angle. Because it's still quite light. It's getting to that point now when the sun's set at about 12 minutes past 9. So it will be dark soon. And you won't see me. But yeah, you can see it getting dark. You can see that just the camera just struggling to focus on those trees, and there's a good variety of them. So that's what I started doing in the lockdown. I literally used to grow bondi trees years ago, and I think I probably had about half a dozen left. And then during the first lockdown in 2020, I started digging trees out of the garden, and then I started planting seeds and taking cuttings, and then I just ended up with, because I don't do things by half, I go full in to anything I get into. So that's just my tree collection, and before I go in tonight, I'll give them another water with the hose pipe. Yeah, and we can zoom out this way, you'll see the steps over there where we film as well. I love the location, try not to fall over backwards. And we filmed up here a few times. I mean, there's a good old stump here, look. We can test out this re-enact. So, of course, you get it stuck in the top when you do it that way. But you can certainly see that coming to your shield will be very effective. Random hitting a stump with a re-enact. Just what you want on camera. There, it's got a slight angle on the camera there. Because I didn't chop that tree down, that was chopped down years ago before I moved here with my parents in '99. But it must have been wonderful to see that tree back in the day in the garden. Because giant oaks like that are wonderful. Oh yes. Any more comments? Oh, I do go. Well, Rob says, well, I need to go. Super active day at school and lots of kids to teach. So have a good day. And I'm going to go soon. And he says he's going to let me know offline and provide a good solution to Egil's ongoing situation. Yeah, so Egil's got to look after himself. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to lose some of your toes. And I do have bad toes. I've got club toes. It's a Viking generic disease. My toes are clubbed, so I'm always walking on them, but I'm just used to it after 47 years of having them. I mean, I've had toes all my life, but can't imagine. So, but we're going to be there for him, and if he needs me to go shopping for him, I can do that, and whatever I can do, I'll do it, because that's what you do for your brothers and your family, you know, because my friends are my family, because they're decent. And Chad says, I'm off to work on my re-enacts, and also Rakasasi. I wonder what that is. It's only 3:30 PM in the afternoon for me. So when it gets twilight, I would light the forge. Oh yes, that makes sense to me. Do it at night time. You'll see the glow of the metal far better. And it's very important you see the glow of the metal. So I am going to end this live stream now. So thank you all for watching. I've got to figure out how to do this, so bear with me. And leave a comment and a like. Goodbye.